So back again for next part of the tutorial video. Um, this time we're going to be discussing ways of painting treads. Now, depending on the type of treads that your kit comes with, either this kind or basically like a long sort of soft plasticky belt, how you paint the treads is going to vary. Now, with the long one-piece treads, they have the advantage of you can just basically hang them up, paint them, and they're fairly easy to work with. However, just from personal experience, they just don't look good. Now, with this type of treads, however, because they are more delicate, it's a little harder to paint them. Now, one obvious way to paint them would be to basically put them like this, basically. Have them on your painting surface, just paint them like this. The underside won't get painted, or you can come back and flip it over and paint that side. Downside of this, obviously, it is a two-step process, and you do risk dust and all that stuff getting to the paint. However, again, this is probably the safest bet to go if you really don't want to risk damaging treads. Now, another way would be to use one of the wheels if you haven't painted them and sort of hang it like this. Now, again, this you risk dropping it breaking on its own, so forth, but you are able to get everything all at once. Now, another alternative is sort of a modification on the first option, but is a little bit of a better way to do it. At least this is the way I think it's easiest to do. Is basically to have only a spot on the bottom of the tread be covered up with some sticky tack, and then attach it to some type of spraying surface, like a empty spray can. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get this fairly dribbly. Okay. And there. Now this allows you to get the majority of the treads, say for the small part, but since that's in the middle, it will never be seen. So, going to go ahead and do the first part of painting, which is going to basically be an overall primer coat followed by our base steel color, and we'll go from there. So, now I've finished putting down the steel color. Next step, we're going to dry brush the top of the individual treads, as this gives it a little bit more look of having been driven and used, while not totally weathering it to the point where it looks like it's been heavily used. Essentially to try and give it more of a sort of parade-like use. Basically like you would expect to see almost shortly after it left the factory. Now I'm going to be using a silver enamel for this. You don't want to have something you can wipe your brush with, and ideally you want to use a flat brush. So, obviously, first step is to get some paint on your brush. Now you don't want too much paint, since we're going to be wiping a lot of it away to get the dry brushing effect. It's stupid to waste paint. Now you don't want to have too much paint, and in this stage less is more. Now this is where you want to be very careful, as you don't want to destroy your work. And so you're basically just going to gently rub it along the top. And it doesn't really matter if you go back and forth. just so long as you're careful. And you'll know when you need to get more paint. What's also nice about this is you do have a lot of control with when you use less paint, as you can then build up the effect over several passes. Now for this, I don't want to go too heavy, just want to give everything in this one section a good once over. Now you can kind of see between the section we did here and the section we haven't done, as there is a slight tonal difference. Now I'm going to do the rest of this and the other tread off camera, save some time, and then we'll continue from there. So here we have the finished tread, and we're good to finally now put it onto the tank itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and put a fairly liberal amount of glue on those two parts. Now here comes the tricky part, is we're going to have to basically carefully lift this into position without damaging the tread. Alright. There we go. Now I've only put this side on for now, as there was a break in the other side. So I'm just going to set this off to the side, as there's a couple other little things we need to do before this tank will be done. Now here we have one of the headlamps, so we're going to do a little extra detailing, as if you look at headlamps on most anything, most obvious example will be your car. On the inside you'll see like a silver coating. This is to help reflect more light out towards front. So just going to very carefully paint, give a slight coating to the inside of this, just to help bring some detail out. Want to be very careful, as you don't want to do anything to affect the main part of the finish, especially at this late stage. Alright. And if necessary, don't be afraid to do a second coat. So, while we wait for that to dry, we'll then do the attachment of the clear parts to this, which will be just about the last step before we do final assembly. And I do believe we're just about out of time, so I'll stop it here and do one more video after this.